First, should every school kid get free breakfast? 020 7862 2222. Government is planning to roll out its so-called Breakfast Club scheme to 500 more schools in April next year, then another 1,500 in September, and that gives free breakfast to pupils in low-income areas in primary schools where 40% or more of the pupils already get free school meals. The Department for Education said 500,000 more children will be served by the free breakfast clubs from April, and they could save parents up to 95 hours in childcare and £450 a year. A third of parents say they struggle to give their child a healthy breakfast before school. In London, every primary school pupil already gets a hot meal at lunchtime, regardless of family income. That's to avoid the stigma of being on free meals. So should they all get them? What do you think, Faiza?
Yeah, no, I think this is a good thing. I think that in many families, it's been very difficult for a while. We'll speak about food and inflation and how much people are struggling with their bills. And, you know, when kids are fed properly, they concentrate better at school, they have improved memory, it's shown to have higher test scores afterwards. So there's lots of positive benefits. I think one of the things about making it universal is the stigma point, is that I remember at my school there was a separate line for free school meals, and I just felt like that was so, it really highlighted which kids were poor. And so some of this like universal ideas, they do it in other countries as well. And look, we're one of the richest countries in the world. Let's look after our children properly.
Andrea?
I mean, I remember about the lines at school, actually. I agree, we've got to remove that stigma. But look, when are we going to get to be a society where we push parents to be actual parents? The state should not do this. And I think that, I mean, I've worked in schools. I've seen children come to school, they haven't even cleaned their teeth. You know, they don't know how to use a knife and fork. And you know, they don't even come with a clean face and hands. So I think we've got to, as society, start pushing back at parents to be good parents, actually. Right. But also, can we just talk about the campaign?
Yeah. I
mean, I was very saddened by the DFE video. Do you know, they actually promoted it as parents having 30 minutes extra free time per day. Look, I'm a single mum, and I get mummy guilt every day. When I, you know, drop my little one off. And we should actually be encouraging the family unit more to spend more time, not see this as a freebie time for parents to get time off. And I thought that video was awful, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd love to see the video. I haven't seen it, actually.
No, you look, it's on the
like
DFE.
The government will give you 30 minutes.
Yeah, and they're interviewing people. They're actually interviewing people. What would you do with 30 minutes extra each day?
Well, if your kid had 30 minutes extra, you wouldn't want it to spend any time with the government, that's for sure. It would cost over £500 million per year for every primary school pupil in England to have this. 900 million if we include secondary school pupils, 1.21 billion a year for pupils across the UK. So that's all pupils 1.2. Now let's do some comparisons here. 22 billion has been spent on aid to Ukraine since 2022, and 60 billion was spent on defence last year. And in the next 3 years, that'll go up by 10 billion. So why don't we just say, okay, let's take it away from the armed forces. I'm sorry. The kids need it. We don't want the best defended, hungry kids in the world.
You know, the way we talk about the economy is if we've got like a certain amount of money and we've got like, actually the reality is there's some things that we invest in that pays back. And so, for instance, with kids and making sure that they have a good start and they can do well at school, that has an ultimate benefit for the economy later on and for them as individuals.
But do I think parents should be doing that?
Well, I think that in a perfect world...
What's the point of being a parent if you're not going to look after your children?
I've worked in a school too, and my husband's a teacher, so...
But we should be pushing back at those in society.
In a perfect world, parents would have that time and would have that money and would be able to, do all those things. They still have them, obviously, for dinner and the weekends and the rest of it. It's often parents under pressure in the mornings trying to get to work, and as we've said, struggling with bills. There's many people out there thinking about heating or eating. There's many people out there skipping meals for themselves to feed their kids. And so we actually do have to step in and look after children. I mean, I think it's really interesting that you talk about, Reform Party wanting to put British people in front of the queue and the rest of it. Like, this is about looking after our kids. What could be more important? You and I both have children. We understand how important it is that they
I don't
eat.
believe in a nanny state, though. I do believe that you should get to the stage. I mean, I was against the sugar tax. I was the only person to vote against it on the Health Select Committee, and I made sure my name was on that because I believe in pushing back on society. Parents should parent. We should not have a nanny state, and I believe on self-reliance.
Yeah, but is it fair to say
the complete poorest we support, of course, and there should always be free school meals for those who can't afford it. I agree with that, but rolling this out per school as they are doing, I think we need to. And it's not free. The taxpayers are still paying for it.
My point was going to be simply that what your thing of people must have kids only if they can look after them is fine on paper. We've tried it. It hasn't worked. We're in a society where lots of people who've got kids for whatever reason, maybe their partners left or something, are really struggling. And therefore you have to meet them where they are, don't you?
And why should that child suffer? Even if you do say
I
it's
agree,
a child, why should a child suffer? Right?
I agree, a child should never suffer. But I think as a society, we've got to start pushing back at bad parenting.
All right, Danielle.
Because it's a cycle. That the next parent to become a bad parent, we've got to break that cycle.
Danielle is in Dorset, though. She's waiting to talk. Hi, Danielle.
Hi.
What do you think? Who's in the right here? Because they've got two very different views of what we should be doing.
Yeah, no, I do agree that the children should get free school meals.
What, all of them?
Yeah, because obviously the cost of living and everything, a lot of families are struggling, so it's not fair that the kids have to go to school hungry. Like you were saying on there, the kids will focus a lot more if they've got a, healthy breakfast inside them.
Yeah, but what about Andrea's point that once you say if you can't feed your kids, we'll feed them for you, you're basically advertising that you don't need to worry about feeding kids you haven't had yet, because if you have kids you can't afford to feed, the government will do it for you.
Yeah. Well, all the kids should be fed, really. But there are some parents out there that obviously don't.
Yes.
I do get that. But, we've got to think of this government and they're saying, healthy. But then, some kids can't have a breakfast because the parents just can't afford it.
All right, thank you. I mean, this is really about whether you give the free breakfast to everyone to prevent the so-called queue of shame, where you see who the kids are whose parents can't afford to do their breakfast. Shelley is in Newcastle upon Tyne. Hi, Shelley.
Hi, can I just say firstly that up the northeast here, we've had free breakfast clubs for 20 years plus, so it's not a new thing. I'd like to say that the pensioners, they complain that wealthy pensioners can't get that little bit of money at what's it called, the winter fuel payment. So why should wealthy parents' children get free school meals and breakfast? And another thing is, it seems to be all for the families this government's doing. It's nothing for single people or couples. It all seems to be for families getting extra free childcare. I mean, this must be costing a fortune. And my parents didn't work as young'un because my Dad was sick and they'd got nothing like they did now. We had no central heating. It was bloody freezing. And people keep saying, children suffer. It never made us suffer. The 3 kids my mum had, and we always had hot meals on the table, and they were poor paying a mortgage.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you very much. After the break, we're taking more of your calls. Should all school kids get free breakfast? 020 7862 2222. See you shortly. Before the break, we asked which city has banned the sport paddle. Is it Bath, Southampton or Glasgow? It was always going to be Bath. So, welcome back. Andrea Faiza with us this morning. Later, we're asking if people should be forced to go back into the office and not work from home when it's this cold. The Met Office has said that commuting could be tricky. Why force people in? Surely just work from home. Now, more calls, and we're getting a lot of calls on this, whether this thing of bringing out free breakfast bit by bit is wrong. You want to give it to all kids across the UK in schools every day. Safina in West Yorkshire, hello.
Hello, good morning.
What do you think, Safina?
I believe that all children should get free breakfast, and that also includes the lunchtime. The reason why, because I've worked in schools as a TA, supply teacher, I've done everything.
Okay.
And
Yep, go on.
and I believe that some of the kids have come in really hungry, and I'm having to buy out of my own pocket for them to eat because I don't want them to be hungry, and I don't mind that at all. I've done it for a few children.
Amazing. Well, and when do you buy? When you buy the food, where do you buy it? Is it in the school for sale or what?
From the school, I'd say put it on my thing and charge me for me later, and I'll put it onto my system.
Yeah.
Or I might even have like sandwiches or something just to give the children something to eat. It's not nice, and it's really awful. Why?
It's not
Why
good.
do that?
But when, so do you? But Andrea's thought is surely the parent who drops them off. Do you not run after them and say, "What are you doing?
Absolutely. We've got to push back.
What are you
bad
doing
parenting.
to your child?"
But you know what? You don't understand. I've been in a
No, I don't.
position where I couldn't even get a loaf of bread, and I couldn't feed my children. Right? That's how hard it got for me. And I understand that sometimes it's really difficult for some people when you've lost your job and you just don't know what to do. You need to pay the bills. You need to put the
Fair
roof
comment.
over your
Fair comment.
head. Right, yeah. And then my dad and mum would bring me food over for the children as long as they were fed. And it really upsets me because it's not easy. It's not easy.
Well, that's the answer, Andrea.
No, it's not easy. And my dad's late father's business went bust when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I remember we moved into a council house for a few years. I remember hid behind the sofa when they cut the electric off. So I've seen both sides of life.
Well, then that's the thing.
No, I'm just saying. So I'm saying help but my dad never did any benefits. You know, he just went out and tried to find work, found work, and I just think that you've got to help those who genuinely need it. I don't want to see any child go hungry, but as society, we've got to start pushing parents to be better parents, because you'll get a group of parents out there who will not be good parents.
Okay, so people can be good parents in a situation where they don't have all that stress of like thinking about how they're going to pay their bills. There's more food banks in this country now than McDonald's. So, you know, if you're a political party that's leading in the polls, if you want to talk about, you know, a country where parents can parent, then that economic context is so critical.
But look at the state of the economy under
Andrea, sorry,
Labour,
I'm just going to say,
though.
forgive me, the advert you mentioned that you didn't like, we found it. Let's have a look.
Like a 5-minute nap. Even though it's not enough, but I don't relax. If I had an extra half an hour, I would go to the coffee shop with all of the other mums.
Do something for myself. Housework.
I walk around with 8 hands, so I'll be cleaning the table there, I'll quickly brush that, and I'll go and quickly wash the dishes.
Tie up their room, or to do this or to do that around the house. In the mornings at home, it can be quite a task getting them ready for school, because they're pretty crazy. They are kids in the morning, as we all know.
You're rushing, you forget if they've eaten, so it gives them a bit of stability.
They love getting their toast, whether it's a little bowl of porridge. When kids are having their breakfast, they're thriving for the day. You know what I mean? I think it's amazing what the schools are doing for the breakfast clubs. I really think it helps.
But that is a Labour advert, basically. What, you don't like it?
No, but the saying, it's been sold as parents get an extra 30 minutes a day. What about the family unit? As I said, look, I'm a single mum. I want to spend more and more time, as much time as I can with my...
Well, one of them said, sometimes you can forget if you've given your kids breakfast. I was thinking that...
Yeah, but she was saying she's in a rush. I mean. But I mean, generally what you've heard from parents is that they're doing other stuff for kids. Anyone knows with kids that, like, you know, they're like cleaning them up and like going to have coffee with mum.
I'm saying about Labour. I'm saying about Labour that they're focusing on this. And let's face it, you know, if the economy was in a better state, we wouldn't necessarily have to do these breakfast clubs. You know, we need growth. We need to be investing in the economy. We need to be attracting...
Also, you were in the Conservative government that also brought us to this place.
Right, so let's just pause because we want to take some calls. Peter's in Lincolnshire. Hi, Pete.
Hello there, Jeremy.
What do you think about this, of rolling it out to everyone?
No, I agree with, was it Shelley you had on earlier on? Who said
from Newcastle.
You'll tax the richer ones are going to get it free and everything else, but you won't do it for a pensioner, give them the fuel allowance or whatever. But, as has been said on this programme many a time by your panellists, we are one of the richest countries in the world.
Are we?
So why are we in so much debt?
Well, it's like someone who owns a £15 million mansion saying they own it, and they actually, what they've got is they're living in £15 million of debt. That's what and we're in the same situation. We've just got so much debt. Now, it's true, it's a great country, but I don't know, we do have to pay the debts, or at least the interest on them, Pete.
But if we've got to pay the debts, why are you giving millionaires a free school meal for the kids?
Well, as you raise a good point.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I guess the answer might be that they, probably the millionaires are in private schools anyway, by the way. But Pete, the answer is that they paid the tax.
Well, they don't, though. I mean, actually, when you look at it with VAT and everything, it's still like people on low and middle incomes that pay a lot of money in taxes. And also, the very richest get most of their money from wealth rather than going out and earning their income.
We're talking about someone who's got a job. We're not talking about people who are just larging it up with a yacht. Someone on a very high salary could say their kids should get a school meal because they paid more tax.
I mean, those are, like you say, most of those people are in private school anyway.
Yeah,
and even if that was the case, the point about having breakfast together as well.
But what is wrong with private schools? I mean, look,
I'm not saying that.
Let's not have that debate. But you're in favour of everyone getting a school meal, so you'd have to justify to Pete giving it to the kids of millionaires.
I think the point is that the stigma point.
Yes, okay.
So I think it's right to start off in the most.
Maybe just have the rich kids in a line.
Yeah, I mean
that's where the stigma is now, right?
There is something about the community that is built within the school as well, and coming together and eating and being seen as equals. That's partly the argument for school uniforms, for instance. And so I think there is an argument there for universal benefits.
It's a good point. Schools. Yeah. Thanks, Pete. So just to say Faiza's point.
But I hear him on older pensioners as well, like that. It feels like groups shouldn't be pitted together against like that. I think it was absolutely wrong to take away the winter fuel allowance for most pensioners.
Esther in Staffordshire, hi.
Hello there.
Hello. What do you think of this, rolling it out to every pupil?
I think it's wrong, so wrong. I am 89 in 4 weeks' time.
Well done.
Now, in my day, when I was young, my parents managed to give us porridge in the morning. We had one piece of toast. My parents didn't get a cent for me, but we managed. My father had a little piece of ground. He grew vegetables, and my mother made cheap meals, oxtail soup, things like that. Today, they don't bother. They couldn't care less. All they're thinking about these days is what they can make out of everyone else.
Ooh.
Make them work for their living.
But would you, if you were that selfish, if they were that selfish, why would they have kids at all? Because then surely it would be better to just, go around and spend money on yourself.
No, I think today that they're just so bad. Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, happy birthday in 2 weeks. Thank you, Esther. Valerie in Staffordshire, also in Staffordshire. Hi.
Hello.
What do you think about this? Roll it out. Give it to everyone.
No, I don't think we should be paying for wealthy students. I think there is a way to actually distinguish between the wealthy kids and the poorer children. And there is, in my granddaughter's school, they have a system whereby you just go to the canteen and you have a fingerprint and it goes onto your card.
Yes.
So that there's no distinguishing between the rich kids and the poor kids.
Yes, and you know what? I thought most schools had that now, the thumbprint thing. I thought that was a big, and that was the big selling point. The company that did the thumb machine said, guess what? We're not going to have the queue of shame. Anyway,
exactly.
Thank you, Valerie, so much. Have a great day. Thanks for all your calls. More coming. Later we'll ask if phones should be banned in restaurants. That's what one man in Mayfair is doing in his restaurant. Would you like that to happen where you live? After the break, should people be forced to go into the office in the cold weather? It's bitterly cold with sub-zero temperatures in some parts of the country. Mind you, rather beautiful, isn't it? So, in this, can you just ring the boss and say, I'm sorry, mate, I'm not coming in. 0207 862 2222. That's going too fast, that tractor. See you in a mo.